This conference will now be recorded.
Gotta be cooler.
No, you gotta show.
Oh, man, kind of wide. We is close. We gotta go.
Hey, what do you say there?
I'm sorry. You look like glasses. You need your glasses, my friend.
I know I do.
From this distance, I look good.
Looks like you just came off a vacation, you know?
Want to go on vacation.
That makes about 30.
So after this, I'm gonna run down to Maverick and have a micro vacation.
There you go.
Oh, it's right. And that's on the non?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Call this regular session of our Lovington City Commission to order. Shannon, roll call, please. Okay, Ms. Gasman,
Mayor Roberts,
I'm here.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Here.
Commissioner Gandy,
Here.
Commissioner Bolt,
Here.
Commissioner White.
Join us in our invocation. Gandy.
You're gonna pray or
Right, I'm sorry. Whatever we're gonna do.
Sorry.
Sorry, thank you.
I can do one, but I cannot do both at the same
Are
time.
you sure?
Try.
Okay. I'm
I can
sorry.
look confused. Will you pray with me? We'll try to keep it simple tonight. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this absolutely beautiful day. Lord God, we just thank you for the rain that you gave us today. Lord God, we give you all the praise and glory. Lord God, as we hold this city commission meeting tonight, Lord God, I pray that you would give the city commissioners the wisdom and foresight to do what is right for our community. Lord God, I just pray for protection over our staff and their families. Lord God, I just pray that you would continue the rain. Our land is dry, and I know you know that. But Lord God, we ask. Lord God, we just thank you for the many blessings our community has received. We thank you for the many families that are in our community. But Lord God, as we look forward to the future, Lord God, we want to do what's right for the citizens. We want to make sure that we have a city that can be looked up to in more than just the city policies we've put in place. Lord God, again, I thank you. I praise your name. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right.
We'll try the pledge.
We'll try the pledge. All right.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, to be a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Maybe seated.
I am not prepared.
That's okay. I think we're all running a little.
Here we go. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted, except for the review of EDC board member term limit policy. Second.
Okay. Motion and second to accept the agenda with the corrections. Any discussion? Hearing none.
I was gonna say, what is the objective on removing that?
We have no say over their policies.
We have no say over what?
Their policies.
Their policies in
It'd be
regard
like
to what?
if we told the Lions Club they need.
Say it again.
It'd be like if we told the Lions Club they need term limits.
Yeah, but they oversee taxpayer dollars.
So we can say they exist, or we can say we need to get rid of them, and that's all we can say.
Yeah, but I think we need to at least have a discussion off of it, because if they're overseeing tax dollars and they're not doing what their objectives are set forward by their policies and procedures, like for instance, their board members are only supposed to be there three years out of 3 years terms, but yet they're there longer than that. We have a cheese plant that's sitting over there idle for years and nothing's being done with it. And we have other issues that they're not being addressed, but yet we're going to keep supporting them and
So we
allowing
have to
their
go to
regular
their
board
meeting
members.
and bring all that up.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, we also give them $50,000 in monies, taxpayer monies, and we expect them to go by their policies, procedures. The expectations with us is to ensure that they have the funding available as well, and their expectations of us are at high standard. We should do the same. And to allow board members to be on there 10 years, 12 years, and nothing be said about it, I think that causes us to be considered a weak board, because we are not addressing an issue that needs to be addressed, or at least needs to be put out about, said something about.
So we should pull their MOU for a non-action item and highlight what they're not doing and hold their funds until that's taken care of in the MOU, not adjust their term limit.
But that's the same thing as if we were talking about their MOU tonight or any other night. Well, still, it talks about, if we're going to allow them to continue to accept $50,000 in taxpayer funding, plus additional funding that the county offers, and as well as that we offer in FAFSA money and so forth, I think it needs to be addressed. I definitely, if it wouldn't involve taxpayers' money, if it was their own money, but like, it doesn't compare with Lions Club, because Lions Club has their own monies, they have their own funding from other things, but this is taxpayers' money. And if we're going to allow.
But we're the overseers.
Yeah, we are exactly. If we're the overseers, then why are we not addressing this? Why are we continuing allowing a board to have the same members over and over again? Because the way I look at it, if you have the same board members over and over again, they can possibly gear up together to pursue their agenda. And why are they not finding other board members to come on board with them? Maybe because it's not aligns with their agenda, and so they don't want to have new board members, because they're the ones supposed to seek out new board members, and they're not seeking out new board members.
So
They
that
just spend
we
the same ones.
pull their MOU, bring that to here, say we're gonna withhold your funds until these things occur, not,
Yeah,
because
but
if you want to
it doesn't
address
matter,
the term limit. you have
Commissioner
to
Liz,
go
it
to
does
their
not
meeting.
matter when you address it. It needs to be addressed. It don't matter if it's on this agenda or we're doing their MOU. It doesn't matter when we address it. It's supposed to be addressed. When we see a discrepancy in anything that involves taxpayer funding, it needs to be addressed. And if we're going to take it off
Do
the
we need to do
agenda,
this here or their meeting?
Well, the difficult part for me, when I take a look at what's on the non-action items, I look at it, do some work to kind of prepare for the meeting and kind of take a look at what do I think it's discussing. So to me, we would be talking about a term limit, either extending that or shortening that or doing something. But from what I'm hearing, there are a lot of other issues that you have about it. And so I think the best thing to do would be to put something on here that identifies what those issues are, so that the city can say, hey, here are the issues that we have. So it's not just the term limit, it's whether they're following that term limit or whether they're not following that term limit. And if there's some other things about it you raised with, some of the funding and how that's, what they decide to do with it or not do with it. But I think it's important to put something on there that identifies what those issues are, to give whoever else is going to respond, because I'm going to assume somebody from the EDC would want to respond, so that they know exactly what we're talking about. And then we can have a more informed kind of discussion about what some of those issues are. So the first place to start, if there are a lot of issues, maybe that are not limited to just a term limit, is to maybe lay that out. If that's something you wanted on the agenda, you could maybe send a letter to EDC and say, here are the 5 things, or 6, or 3, whatever that is, that I have an issue with. I'd like to discuss it. And then we can put it on the agenda with those things, give them an opportunity to get here. And that way, at least everybody has an opportunity to see what those are. And when we do discuss it, the public's here, somebody from the EDC, I would imagine, would come to support some of these positions. They're at least up to speed on what those issues are. Because what's going to happen oftentimes, and I've said this before, is someone will raise an issue while we're here, and the other side doesn't really have an opportunity or the ability to respond. That doesn't mean that they don't have a response. It just means that when they get to this meeting, what they see on the agenda as an issue or an item isn't really what's going to be discussed. And then it puts that person at a disadvantage. It also puts us at a disadvantage because we really don't have the opportunity to sit down and talk with that person or that entity or group. And so I think it's better if we've got more issues, or you or other commissioners or however that might be, put together something that goes out to the EDC and says, here are the issues that I have. Let's talk about them. Let's get, so you have an opportunity to address them. We have an opportunity to look at them, address them, and then have a better discussion about it. And because what's going to happen is if we have that discussion, if we go outside what that term limit policy is, what I would look at as being the issue, I don't know if the other side's going to really have an opportunity to participate in that discussion, and we get nowhere. And so that would be my recommendation, is to at least lay out what those issues are, have a better discussion, and get it resolved than, because look at that, it's telling me we have some concern about the term limit, and should we change that term limit? Or should we give them some suggestions, some advice about what that term limit is?
But they're not following their term limits, and they're set by, and they were approved by this board.
Right, so if the only issue you have with the EDC, just the term limits and they're not following, or are there other issues?
Well, that highlights the way I look at it. They're not following their term limits, and they're not following a lot of other things.
That's what I mean is, we should probably identify whatever issues you have. I mean, if I have those issues, any other commissioner has those issues, it's gonna be a better discussion, and we can at least have an opportunity to reach a resolution. Because if someone came in here and said, hey, I've got an issue with Patrick, and these are all my issues and problems, what do you have to say about that, Patrick? I might say, this is the first I've ever heard of it. I am gonna have to do a little bit of work to investigate. Maybe my office did this, or they didn't do that, or I did it, or I didn't do it, but give me an opportunity to take a look. And so having that ability to give me a heads up, or the EDC, or whoever else it might be, is gonna result in a much better discussion. I'm not saying don't talk about it. And if you have an issue and you wanna talk about what the term limit, it's on there. You guys can vote to see whether it stays or not, or whether it's part of the agenda. But it's really important to get that out, make sure when the EDC shows up, if they decide to show up, they know what the issues are, we can hash them out and get to some kind of resolution. Otherwise, what's gonna happen is that person's gonna say, hey, I'm unhappy with Patrick because this, and that. And then I'm gonna have to go back and do some work. It's gonna be 2 weeks before we come back. And it doesn't really get us anywhere. So those are important issues. And if they're important to you, they should be important to everybody. But I think we need to get it out there to EDC if you've got issues with them, so that when they show up, they know what the issues are, at least have an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, even if we were addressing just the board member term limits, which is in their policy and procedures of 3 years, it's still a negative on their side, because some have been there way longer, 2 or 3.
It could be. And I know that, whether it's the EDC board, the youth board, whatever boards we have, sometimes it's hard to get people to come do that job. So that may be part of it also. What I'm saying is, if we raise that issue with the EDC, I want to make sure they've got an opportunity to at least say, hey, not picking on him, but Scotty says, if someone would run, maybe he wouldn't run. We've heard that a couple times, right? And so what happens is, by default, nobody decides, hey, they want to run, and Scotty's been here for a while. Still loves the job, right? Because we talk about
Loves the job.
Well, what I'm saying is, we don't necessarily have people, I've never heard anybody come in and complain and say, hey, I wanted to get on the EDC, and I can't get on the EDC there. So that's part of it also. But I think setting all that out,
so that they have a fair opportunity to respond to the best way to go. Otherwise, we're gonna hear one side of the story, and we're not gonna get any resolution at least for 2 weeks until we get it back. So that would be my recommendation, because without it, it's just one version.
I think that would be a good thing to, they can put it to next,
Well, let
because you brought up another point as far as with the cheese plant and that, so there's other issues that we really need to talk about and discuss.
And if those are important issues to you, but nobody else, that's okay. Those are still important issues to you. And you've got the opportunity to say, I want to have them on the agenda. These are important to me. Here's why. And it's up to the rest of the commission to look at, hey, what stays on the agenda, what doesn't, just like if they want something on there and you know, somebody else doesn't. But I think getting those out there so you can identify what your issues are, make sure EDC knows. We'll have a discussion that at least gives everybody else an opportunity to look at it and say, hey, what do we really need to do? Because maybe they have a really good reason. Maybe they're gonna come in and say, we would get other people, but nobody's volunteering. Or they might come in and say, well, we just got lazy and, you know, we just haven't gone out to find anybody else. Those are two different answers that we could get that have a difference on how the commission's gonna look at what do we do. And you're correct, you know, the best way to get something accomplished is through money. And so you control some of the purse strings. And so if that's the case, you can make those changes if you want. But what I'm saying is, it's really important to give that other side, whether it's EDC or me or anybody, an opportunity to kind of take a look at it and see, so we know, hey, what's really going on. So. But it's up to, just like any other item that comes up on the agenda. My rule has always been, you know, the city shouldn't be the gatekeeper. If somebody comes in and wants something on the agenda, unless it's offensive on its face, we put it on the agenda, and then it's up to commission members to decide whether it stays or not. So they've had an opportunity to get it on there. And if the commission decides to discuss it, so be it. If they don't, that's just part of the rules, how it goes.
Yeah, which is good.
Mr. Trujillo, I'm gonna ask Evelyn, if we were to leave that discussion item on, are you prepared to discuss just this item, the term limit policy?
Yes.
Okay, so
And I
is there
think
any further discussion on this particular item?
the thing about Evelyn is she's the director, the board president and the members need to address this issue because they're the ones that seek out the membership. She doesn't. She sits below the board.
We're only talking about the policy, not how they
She has the
operate
bylaws.
policy.
But the
Just the
policy
policy.
is governed by the board, not by the director. She follows the director's lead.
But the policy is what you put on here. So she can talk about the policy and how it's followed.
I'll go with whatever she wants to
Okay,
address.
so is there any further discussion on the reason?
Motion for
that
the
this is-
agenda.
Right, so that we can move forward.
We need to vote, we have a motion.
I know, I realize that. But we were still in discussion. Okay. You or Ms. Gesson? Okay, hold on, Ms. Gesson.
Okay, Commissioner Trujillo?
No.
Mayor Roberts?
No?
Commissioner?
Wait a minute, hold on. Hold on.
So
Let me
yes.
back up the
So a
consideration.
no,
Yes, we got confused. I'm a yes, I'm sorry.
Yes to remove.
Yes to remove, I'm sorry.
Yes. to remove.
Forgot where we were at.
Okay, Commissioner Bolt?
No.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Oh, I love these days. So I'm gonna say yes, yes, and hope that they will readdress this at a later date. How about that?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for consideration of the minutes of June 24th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, motion and second for the consideration of the minutes. Any discussion, any changes, any additions, corrections? Hearing none, I'm sorry, Ms. Gesson.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt?
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
All right, this brings us to Commissioner staff report. Shannon, do you have anything you want to say, pass along to Ms. Gasman? Okay. All right, Ms. Gasman, you have anything this evening?
Actually, some of my comments will go along with the city managers.
Chief, how about you?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. City Manager, and our officers' activity report for the month of June. The self-initiated calls for service was 769. The incident response calls for service was 1408. And that would be consist of alarm calls, traffic stops, arrests, crashes, and detox. And also traffic stop part of it. And then total citations was 389, arrest was 36. Code enforcement activities for June was 256 code calls, 220 code warnings, and 16 code citations. In addition, our SRO contract is going to be voted on by the school board tomorrow night. So if it does, I would suspect that the next commission meeting we'll be able to address it on our end. The only real difference as far as the old contract and the new one is we increased it from 41,907 to 60,000 that the school would be paying for our officer. And our K-9 officer, or K-9 Drax, hasn't been used since November of 23, since Officer Wilkes left the department. We've reached out to several agencies with no interest. Just recently, we reached out to a couple other agencies, one being Lovington Police Department. And tomorrow, they'll be sending a handler down to watch the dog work and hopefully take that information back to their agencies so we're able to be able to sell the dog to Lovington PD. And then those, if that actually occurs, then the referendum will be put forth to get that ball rolling. That's all I have.
All right, questions, Commissioner? Hearing none. I have a question on 4th of July. I know that report doesn't include this past week probably, but was there a lot of citations? It was a war zone for most of that week, so.
There was several citations for fireworks. It's hit or miss whether we catch them or not. Every year we're just chasing them down. Mostly it's shots fired calls is what we initially get called, and we get in the area and they end up being fireworks. Yeah, they also did a real big sting on speeder down Avenue D, and they got several citations on that. And as far as the chaparral, everything went off without a hitch. Didn't have no major incidences. Had one heat stroke early in the morning, I think. I think that's what it ended up being. But other than that, it was good.
Yeah, I've been having to get a lot of complaints on fireworks popped but one day after the 4th of July is the last day, right? 2 days.
They shoot through the 6th.
Through the 6th. Okay.
Oh no. Should have called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was calling.
Was there a reason we would go 2 days afterwards?
That's just how the state set it up. You can shoot from, like a week prior to 2 days after. You can shoot till 9 o'clock at night. Exceptions on the 4th of July, you can shoot till midnight.
So, but they can start at midnight for the next day, right? I'm pretty sure that's what the people in that neighborhood
I agree
were
with you.
doing.
Who's still selling? That's what I can't understand.
Nobody's selling.
Nobody's selling.
No, I mean, but somehow they're getting more fireworks because they're still popping them off.
Yeah.
All right, so, thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, fire chief.
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. So Vitalent is hosting the Battle of the Badges blood drive tomorrow from 12:30 to 5 at the Norley Annex building. Everyone, please go and give blood. They're having a lot of shortage of blood. I mean, a bad shortage of blood. So everyone makes a difference at this point. Let them know that the fire department sent you. The 4th of July seemed a big success. Now we're, of course, on to the Lee County Fair and Rodeo, so we'll be busy with that as well. I have 2 people in a fire inspector class this week in Carlsbad. And then next week, over half my department will be in a fire officer 1 class, but that will be held here in town at our second station in the training room. So at least it will be local. Our numbers for June, we had 225 EMS calls, 58 interfacility transfers, 77 cancel refusal DOA, 10 airport, 7 Tatum, and 21 fire calls. So for the second quarter, that equals 669 EMS runs, 149 interfacility transfers, 204 cancel refusal DOA, 55 airport, 20 Tatum, and 57 fire calls. And that is all I have at this time. I will stand around.
Questions? Okay, since we talk about this every year before we get to the 4th of July, how many calls were from fires caused by fireworks?
I will have to look as far as that. These are just the numbers through June.
Right, I know.
So I'm gonna be honest, we were really lucky this year. Maybe 2, maybe.
The only reason is I would like next meeting, if you would please report it. We can get it into the minutes. And then if that discussion comes up again, we can access the minutes. We can say, last year was this amount. And
We, like I said, we actually were really good this year. People, I don't know if they were just more safe. We were way better off than Hobbs was, I'll put it that way.
Oh, yes.
More safe, no. I saw some of the people.
So.
oh, I didn't know that.
But I will look into that and report that next commission.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Chief. Commissioner Bolt.
Thank you all for being here. I always put out there, eat local, shop local, buy local, keep doing that for our community. I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July, Independence Day. I kind of look at it as a win-win because we didn't have the drought proclamation. You know, we were able to sell fireworks, so everybody was happy. That's a plus. I hope nobody's house burned down, so I would think that would be a plus too if that was good. And we were actually able to get to bed before 1 o'clock in our neighborhood.
How'd that work?
Apparently, everybody was respectful.
Stay in a year now, next year.
So we were able to, so I consider that a win-win, so.
We could go to bed. We just couldn't sleep.
Well, unfortunately for me, it doesn't affect me at all, but the person I live with is highly offended by them. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Trigo.
I'm good.
All right, Mr. White.
I asked Constructors Inc. to come and update their October 30th date with us, but I don't see him, so I have nothing.
Commissioner Gandy.
So, based off of, like Commissioner Bolt, I would continue to do this, to shop local, eat local, and bank local. So the other night, just to tell a story, just to, kind of fluff this up a little bit, I was eating local on a Friday night, which was, pretty much the standard routine, and walked out, and our main street was putting on a little concert, and they have some phenomenal, I don't know where they got this kettle popcorn, whatever it is, in bags. My wife ate through that thing like it was nothing. So it must be really good. And, but it had a artist that was playing music, and it was very pleasant. So I know there's another one coming on this Friday. I don't remember where she told me it was at, but I would encourage you to, when you get through eating, walk down one of the alleyways, I suppose. And they're trying to support the local businesses and encourage them to stay open at night and different things like that. Other than that, the mortar shells at my house was ridiculous. Wah, wah, wah. And other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. City manager.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I would echo that the party in the park, 4th of July, went off without a hitch. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, especially our city departments which participated, Parks and Recreation, Fire, EMS, Streets, Police, Code Enforcement, especially Chief Moorhead. He really, we had a couple last minute issues and he came through for us. So thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. It was hot, but everything went off pretty well. I'm happy to report that the Lovington Youth Center is up and running. We are in our second week of our summer program, and we average about 22 to 28 kids per day, although 42 signed up, and upgrades to the facility are continuing. Temporary fix to the railroad crossing on South Main Street was recently completed. I would like to thank the NMDOT Railroad Division, John Latta of NMDOT and the Texas and New Mexico Railroad for improving what had long been a major nuisance for our citizens. The Veterans Memorial Architect, who is Jeff Stewart, and myself will be presenting to the Lee County Commission next Thursday, July 25th at 9 a.m. regarding the status of the Veterans Memorial. All are invited to attend. At that time, 100% construction drawings will be presented, and we are aiming for an August groundbreaking. We got word just late this afternoon, and I would ask Ms. Leslie Bolts to stand up and give some details. We received a $263,000 matching grant fund from New Mexico DFA, which will match the $959,000 federal grant for improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. So that's 1.3 million of improvements that are coming to the wastewater treatment plant using federal and state funds. So thank you, Leslie, for that. And didn't know if you had any further details.
So Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez was gracious enough to put us in for congressionally directed funding for our wastewater treatment plant in the amount of close to $1 million. What that means is with congressionally directed funding is that we actually have to go to the specific federal department and apply. We don't just get the money from the Congresswoman's office. We have to apply based on what the funding is coming from. Our funding for that project is coming from EPA. We also got word from her office is that out of 100 plus projects that was presented this year to her, we presented a project for the senior center, and 15 were chosen to go to the House Appropriations Committee, and we were selected as one of that. So fingers crossed, we'll hear eventually down the road if we get the funding for that. New Mexico, the state of New Mexico DFA came out with a what they're calling a once in a generation match grant to cover the match that we needed against any kind of federal grant that we had. So since we had the 960 or 70,000, what I did is use that as the 80%, and then I added 20% onto that for the application to the DFA, which they gave us contingent approval for 270,000 to use against our match for our federal grant. So super excited, and we're working on that.
Thank you.
And finally, Kevin, can you throw up the first slide? I have provided the commission with the monthly city manager's report, which is in front of you, which shows detailed GRT data and departmental statistics. One takeaway from the report is a breakdown of our latest GRT number, which you see on the screen. It is interesting to note that retail was the largest share of our GRT revenue, while oil and gas is a smaller percentage. But we need to keep in mind that ultimately oil and gas play a major part in retail, construction, transportation, engineering, technology, even lodging and other sectors. The second chart drives this point home. The top chart is basically 10 years of GRT data. And as you can see, in the last several years, we've kind of formed a base at about 800,000 is our bottom for GRTs, and we'll have months where we kind of poke above 1 million. And it's kind of been a stable environment, but then again, so has the price of oil kind of been bouncing between 70 as a bottom and mid 80s as a top. And I thought what was really interesting, the lower chart, is a comparison of our monthly GRTs going back 10 years overlaid with the price of oil. And you can really see how we track oil. So it tells us what we already know. It's good to diversify, but at the end of the day, oil and gas remain the economic engine which powers all of our local economy, or at least most of it. So I thought that bottom chart is very telling, and we all keep track of oil. It's good to keep an eye on it. And I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
So the only thing I would be interested in knowing is how our GRTs go with construction in our community. I would feel that it follows that closer than it does oil and gas. Because I know I want to say in like 14,
right,
that the oil and gas market was down, but we had a lot of construction going on somewhere in that range, and our revenues were up. So.
And it might have kept it up, and
Maybe that's what it was, yeah.
it is a hedge. I mean, it is somewhat of a hedge.
Yeah. Yep. So we were building the houses and different things, but the more construction we have on our community, the better our gross receipts are. Oil and gas does have an effect, don't get me wrong, because, I mean, it's either bringing people in and they're buying stuff or repairing stuff, but I really think our gross receipts follow the construction industry more, because the first few years that we didn't have any construction when I was on the board, we were pretty flat.
Right.
And then once we actually started building homes and streets and doing repair and different things like that, our gross receipts went up accordingly.
And I'd also like to do a study of who are the biggest employers, what is our job base, is it, what percentage is employed by oil and gas or some kind of associated industries? Because that really, gives us the spending power to buy houses and buy groceries.
Yeah. I don't know, because so much of our people that live here are transient to some degree.
Right.
We have a lot of locals that have been here, but a lot move in and out, kind of like the hospital. They have a big turnover also, school teachers, so we have a lot of people moving in and out. But that does play a factor on it. I don't know, I wouldn't be that interested in that one, but it's always interesting to see how it works.
And luckily, we have a housing incentive program, and we have something associated with that that's on the agenda tonight.
I think Commissioner Candy brought up a point also on that, is that if you take away the construction, what is left? Because in this chart indicates the last 2 years have we done very well, but below that, we were way below currently what we're budgeting for right now and what we budgeted previous years. If you can see that big long 8-year trend of just GRTs below 800,000, if not below 600,000.
Right.
But currently, if you took that away from the piece from the pie from 22 to 24, just the construction, I wonder what would that leave us in GRTs? I mean, I know we got a couple other big projects slated coming up, but I wonder how much is that going to take away from us hitting that $1 million mark for the 800,000.
Well, it'll be interesting because we're on a 2-month lag with GRT reporting, right? So the next figure that comes out next week is going to be for May. And that's kind of when oil started an upswing from 72 to over 80. So it was a big move, and let's see if the GRTs are a little better, because you're right, last time there were 843, I think, which is a little on the weak side compared to what we've been having.
Yeah, because we budgeted for 850, low 850.
Yes, 850s are.
Also, maybe to keep in mind that during good times, you plan for bad times, so. And I know you could say we put a few $1 million set aside, but if you look at that trend, that's an 8-year bad trend. I mean, it's bad. I mean, if you look at what the cost of goods are right now, the cost, compared what the inflation has brought us, in order to operate, I mean, like I mentioned before at this board, we're really in reality still just barely above water. It's not going to take a couple of years to put us back in the hole.
And with that chart, if you look at that chart, you know, obviously the COVID year, you see that sharp move down. That was maybe a 50, 100-year event. But if you look at the 16, 17 decline, that was just oversupply in the oil market. And that lasted 2 years. So those bad times sometimes aren't just like a COVID shock. Those bad times can last 2 or 3 years. And you're right, you have to budget appropriately for those times. Because it may not bounce back right away like it did, you know, kind of after COVID.
The last presidential administration, they drilled a lot of oil, which the oil price went down to 16, 17.
Oversupply.
David, you made mention about the youth center. How are we doing as far as coming along in the projects, as far as fixing it up? And how are we as far as with the money that was budgeted for doing that? Where are we at?
Okay, I'd like to bring up Joe Wallace, who happens to be here. On that note, we did provide a status report to David Reed and the Maddox Foundation last week of our progress so far. As of last week, we had spent $60,000 of $315 for the facilities upgrades. We had spent some on salaries, because remember, they gave us $350. $35,000 was for the summer program, $315 was for infrastructure upgrades. And I can tell you more, but I'll let Mr. Wallace give you a good update of what's happening.
Currently, we're looking very well. We just completed our installation on the gym. Looks great. We have some other projects that we're bringing into the gym with the lighting and possibly adjustments with instead of having the swamp cooler, some AC systems. My interior project, I've kind of put on hold with Troy Rapine. We've got the program running right now, so I can't really have them in doing construction. But fence is completed on the basketball court. They're working on the fence on the backside of our facility. And right now, we're managing pretty well with what we have going.
We're starting the fence on the front. We have future plans, some of which I can't talk about tonight, but you'll see one of our capital outlay requests is for further funding of the youth center, because we have some other ideas in mind to continue after the Maddox funds are done. But Maddox was very happy with the progress and the report. We're going to tour the facility in the next couple of weeks. What else? That's it, right?
Kitchen's coming along. We've got kitchen fully functional, fully licensed,
Fully staffed,
and
and we're ready for our after-school program when school starts up.
So as far as the other projects you had on the interior to do, what do you anticipate doing them with having kids in there and that?
we have our stack bar, the cabinets and everything are fairly damaged, so they're gonna come back in and replace that. We have several ceiling tiles that have damage to them, have leak stains, things of such. He's gonna repair that, and we've got some painting and stuff to do interior.
Also the roof, further work on our computer lab, which we have 15 desktops, new scoreboard for the gym, new lighting for the gym, polishing the floor. Also, I'd like to, something Joe mentioned to me today, some citizens in the area were a little concerned because their kids used to just walk out to the basketball courts and play at night. I just want to let everybody know that those basketball courts will be available to any kids in the area or in all of Lovington that want to use them. They just have to arrange it through the youth center. So just get a hold of Mr. Wallace. Those courts, they're secure, but they're still available.
And that was brought up to me also.
Yeah.
Some of the people in the area
Absolutely.
said the kids would play a pickup game and that, and now they don't have anything in that area.
Just got to get a hold of Joe and absolutely it's available to them.
Okay.
And it's just, we're resurfacing it now, so it'll be a better report.
Joe, what's your average attendance right now?
We're averaging, like he said, between 28 and 22. Today was kind of low. I think it was simply because of the weather. We have an enrollment of 42. Kids are doing great. We really haven't had any bad reviews. Parents signing in and asking us what we're doing with their kids because by 7:30 they're in bed. So we're keeping them active. We're keeping them engaged. We got, like today, we had some science projects with them. And we have other things planned further down in the week, but just keeping them engaged and keeping them active has been a real benefit.
Any other questions? Thanks, Joe. Anything further for city manager? Hearing nothing. Ms. Ball?
Commissioners, I have nothing to report. Constructors Inc. did cancel last week's meeting because of course it was on the 4th of July. So I haven't got to visit with them in a while. I will ask them again, Liz, to update their date on that. And I was going to also mention the live events downtown that the Main Street's doing to help those businesses get a little extra. And the popcorn, I took a bag of it myself. It was very good popcorn. I don't know who made it either. But she'll be doing those Main Street events. They're happening every Friday through the month of July in a different location all around the Main Street downtown area. So you can just keep up with it on Facebook and see where they're at. But do you have any questions for me?
Yes,
I
I know we talked about that in front of the courthouse, the water pumping. I see that they're doing the work down Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with that? I know you were gonna get with Pettigrew and they were gonna,
So we have issued an RFI through the project, and the state has approved Constructors Inc. to go ahead and get us a cost, and that cost will be added to the work that we owe for the whole project. So we won't have to pay the cost right now,
right.
but we are adding the work in, yes. And I do not have that cost yet, but as soon as I get it, I will give it to you.
Did they give any details on what they anticipated to do or not?
No. No, we did have a little design drew up by Pettigrew that was submitted to the contractor and the state. So now we're just waiting on them to constructors to give us cost on that.
Okay, yeah, because I see the project moving down the road and I don't see anything there and I just wanted to make sure we were still on for it.
We are.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Hearing none, thank you. Counselor?
Mayor and Commissioners don't have anything new, but I'd be happy to stand for any questions if you have any.
Commissioner? Hearing nothing. All right, brings us to our public comment time. If you have something to bring to the commission, please step forward, announce your name, and tell us what you want to know. Try to keep it to 3 minutes or less.
3 minutes. My name is Junior Hernandez. I'm the president of the EDC. I wanted to bring up tonight in regards to the questions that are being asked about the proposed item for the agenda tonight. Is there anything that I could take care of, anything that you guys would like to address tonight in regards to that?
Junior, how do you, this is one issue that we end up having right here. Well, I personally do end up having an issue. On the 500,000, is there a possibility where you can give us the information? Let's say, for instance, since it is taxpayers' money and you guys do take care of taxpayer dollars, on the 500,000, how it's allocated. And you could say, well, we gave it to housing, but who was the recipients of the 500,000? Not just say that.
And I apologize if you didn't get a copy of the proposal. The way it was proposed was that 500,000 is strictly for infrastructure. that the city carries a burden on for expanding. It could be used for water tower, water wells, lift stations. That is set aside strictly for that infrastructure. It's not gonna be enough for, what is proposed, right? There's gonna be other areas of interest, like we received an email today from Crystal that they're looking into, a new water tower. They're looking at hired Pettigrew and Associates to analyze where the water shortage is, or if there could be in proposed areas. That $500,000 is ear tagged specifically for that. So that's not gonna be an incentive to any developer to come build here. The only incentivized money is what was given to the city by the county.
But still, let's say if you put in, a lift station for a certain project that involves a housing project, then that's where I would want to know.
David, so I want you to know that we have a due diligence board just like we did last time. We meet once a month and Commissioner White's on it, Robert Perez with the city's on it, myself's on it, Bobby Ferris is on it, and Caleb Wright's on it. We meet once a month. Okay, we're building the proposed master plan, but that can't be done in one day. So we've met 3 times as of last week, and what we've broken up, like I'd rather not get into it till it passes our due diligence board, but I'll go ahead and elaborate just a little bit. So we have tiers. We have tiers for X amount of square feet, and we got tiers of classification of property. So we have tiers. So we've taken what the Lee County EDC and their study did. I'm pretty sure it was done by Penn State.
No,
Purdue.
Purdue.
So Purdue did the study and said we lack throughout the county 3,015 square foot homes. Those are the ones that are gonna get more incentive than a 2,000 square foot home, 2,500 square foot home, anything 1,500 square foot or less. And then we're also incentivizing for apartments and trailer parks. It's gonna be at a lower level than, it would be basically at the same level as a 2,500 square foot home. So what we're looking at is incentivizing more into the target range of homes that we need for affordable housing. So with that being done, we're gonna have money left over from the 4.5 million to, let's just say we have a proposal to build 65 apartments. We know that's gonna require a larger main for water and a larger sewer. It's gonna require, like it did last time, a lift station and upgraded sewer line. Those were all things that were left out in the past. We're being proactive to build a plan. That way we have money set aside for those. Tornado siren systems, lift stations, water wells, maybe a new water tower, whatever it is that we have to make these proposed houses work, that's part of it. The EDC only approved 500,000, and that's what you guys will be voting on tonight. That is it, the 500,000. So we basically took a third of what we believed was in that account. We were conservative, and we said by the end of this project, we would have already made that back. Because roughly we're averaging 35 to 40,000 entry a month. We have expenses. So all of it is, our plan it's not a fly-by-night plan. You have very 5 talented people looking at it, volunteering their time once a month to address any issues that we may have in the future. We don't want to do something and it be a burden to the city. At the county meeting, when this was first talked about, that was one of the county commissioners' major topics was, I give you $4.5 million, are you gonna come back 5 years from now telling me I don't have enough water, we need more added sewer plant, we need this, that, and the other. So this plan has to incorporate everything. We have to try to forecast any issues that we have. Real quick, Miranda, what is Robert Pettis's title?
Utilities director.
Okay, so we brought in the utilities director, we brought in one of the commissioners, and we brought 3 professionals for that and put on this board. That board, it's their responsibility, along with the cities, to look at the whole picture. The first time we did this, we did 265 units in 2.5 years. This is 5 years and we're trying to do 500. The way it's proposed right now, we don't have, there's no problems. I mean, the land's there, the developers are contacting us every week. Commissioner Bolt made mention of a master plan. The master plan is the proposal. That is exactly how we have to spend that money. It is the due diligence committee's responsibility to make sure that it is executed. We aren't going to be writing the checks. The checks are going to be, all requests are going to be going through the due diligence board, and then it's going to ultimately end up at the city manager's desk. And then he's going to present it to the commission.
And I think it would be wise to make more presentations to the board, because that doesn't leave us in the dark, because then we're trying to figure out where's the funding going to, and then all of a sudden you come up with a presentation like right now. And I didn't receive nothing off that, off your presentation that you just presented. I never got it.
Yeah, and again, so there's nothing final. We're in the building stages of our plan. The only thing that was proposed, I assume y'all seen the proposal. Y'all received a check from the county, or already started receiving checks from the county. It is not our committee, our board's job, our due diligence committee's job to update y'all weekly, daily.
No, we're not asking for that. We're just
You know what I'm
asking for
saying?
something.
It's like, that's not, we update the city manager. There's a commissioner present. She's been present at every meeting. Robert Perez, the utilities director, has been present at every meeting. I understand kind of what you want, but I want you to understand this is you have a group of volunteers volunteering their time to do this. We have a group of volunteers that volunteer their time on this board. It's not a paid position. We have bylaws that have existed since it was put in place in 2008. We have to have X amount of board members representing the industry. So you have utilities, you have schools, you have hospital, you have private, and you have individuals. Everybody's interest is welcome. You become a member and you submit a letter saying, I've been a member for 2 years and I want to be part of your board. We entertain putting you on the board. We have 8 active members. We have 12 seats. 4 of them are vacant. We don't have a line lined out the door with people wanting to participate.
But some are denied. Some
Are they members?
I'm not too sure, but some that have approached have been denied.
I mean, we have, I'd like to know like who, and to figure out if they're a member, and if they're not a member, I'd encourage them to be a member. I'd encourage them to participate as a member, know what we do, and then submit a letter with some experience. I will say this, there is no way we're going back to where we were years ago on trying to run this board with majority of the board that didn't know what to do. That is very tough because mistakes were made, and you can't blame it on an individual wanting to learn. So we have a great group. As of today, we have myself, we have Linda Davis that represents the hospital, have Caleb Wright that represents banking with Edward Jones, the mayor, Brenda that represents Lico Rural Telephone, you have Bobby Ferris, Lee County Electric, You have Eloy, Holly Frontier, Sinclair, you have Wyatt, that's part of the county, and you've got Mr. Miranda, who's a non-voting member, board member.
Other than the mayor and the city manager, the other board members have been there well over 3 years.
Well, the deal
And
is,
the thing about it is, what I'm getting at, Junior, is that if you have board members who've been there a long time and you're dictating who can come in and who can't, because in reality, you guys got to say who can come in and who can't.
yes.
And then, so how are we to believe that the members are not being traded out, especially when you have a policy procedures in regards to that, say, 3 years?
I think the question that you need to ask, David, is who are we to believe that we're doing a great job? Ultimately, we're here to do a good job for this city. It shouldn't matter if you're doing.
But then change your policy and procedures.
We're not. The deal is we can't.
Well, if
look,
you can't change it,
for me
then you
personally,
gotta address it.
December will be 3 years. I finished out Randy Pettigrew's term because he's a US representative and he wasn't not able to make the meetings. So being that I had experience in the past and I was a member, I was asked to fill his spot. His term doesn't end till December. By default, I get 3 years and then get an option to get 3 more years. So I agree there, you can be married to me for 6 years, 6 more years after December. I can go through here. Linda Davis with the hospital is the same way. She finished Dan Hamilton's position. She was appointed by the hospital to finish out his term. She's gonna continue on the term. A new member that come in for banking, because we lost the banker from Lee County, Alfonso Cisneros with Lee County State Bank. We recruited in Caleb Wright. He was a member. He showed interest. He submitted the letter, submitted his application. We brought him on. Of course, the mayor always has a seat per our bylaws.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a point of motion?
Absolutely.
This is went from a public comment
To
to a
another
full-blown
debate.
discussion, so I do not need any disrespect here, please don't perceive it as that, but this is something that should be held under an action item or non-action item or discussion item.
We were.
And I understand, I know, and we went way past the 3 minutes, and I appreciate your time, and I know there's other people that
I
would
just,
love to
Look,
go.
as being a volunteer for the city for a long time, I understand that a good friend told me one time, no good deed goes unpunished. And when we get here and get questioned over nonsense, so when this was put on the agenda, I sent it to the city manager and said, here are our bylaws and here's our roster. Here are our term limits. Send this out, that way we can kill this and we don't have to discuss this in public. Obviously, that wasn't done because it got brought up. I was at home.
So I understand your concern, and let's please put this in a place where we could go on.
Okay, I'd love to answer all questions.
I just, we have public comment and it should fall under that criteria there. I do appreciate it. I know it seems like I'm just
I
cutting you
still got
off.
1 more minute.
What? Apparently, apparently I
Okay,
can't.
well, so anyhow, like I said, y'all wanna discuss it over public, a non-action item, action item, whatever it is, we do what's best interest for our board, for the organization, and we're not gonna be influenced by changing our bylaws. Our bylaws have been in place since 1995. So
Sometimes they need to be changed with time.
We just updated them in November of 2023. We just updated them for the same reason, so we can be in compliance. Everybody that's on the board is in compliance. Either they're finishing out someone else's term, but no one hasn't been there more than 6 years.
I've been there, I was on the board for 4 years.
You're
Prior
the
to
mayor.
prior to the mayor being there, so that's a total of 6 years. So everybody that was on the board when I was there, during that period should be already gone this year, is
You
what I'm
have
saying.
three terms, 3 years each one, so you can serve up to 9 years. It's 3 years, 3 times. It's up to you if you want to do. After 3 years, you have to sit out 1 year, and you could come back after 1 year.
And nobody has done it.
But nobody on the board right now has been there that long. If they're there, if they're finishing out, it's like Junior. Junior hasn't even started his term
I
yet.
believe we're done, yeah, okay.
So
We appreciate
he's just
it.
gonna start his term.
So I guess if you guys have questions, I'll come back up when you get ready to vote.
Yes.
They took it-
Yes, so.
We took it off the
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
The 500,000?
No, we're talking about the 500, he's talking the 500,000 on the action item. We pulled the one that's a non-action item. I just wanted to give somebody else before midnight.
Thank you.
Come on.
Well, it's nice to be in the room with such a dignified group of people. I've known you from many spots, but not right here. So thank you for having us. And the ladies that are here tonight have not come to be antagonistic at all. We represent about 200 years in Lake County, well, actually Lovington.
I
So
know.
just have a concern.
I'm gonna let her get to it. You have to tell us who you are, and not that we don't know.
I walked in the door and I don't know nobody's name.
Oh, sorry. Connie Crowe, Lovington, New Mexico, retiree from Lovington High School.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking. I was supposed to say that. Okay, we do know that your job isn't easy and it's not simple, and we're grateful for what you do. And I see tonight that sometimes they go longer than you really want. The ladies that we have here tonight have some concerns about fireworks, and that has already been mentioned. But I think they're going to give you some examples of what's happened in our neighborhoods. And it doesn't look good for our Lake County, well, particularly Lovington. I think maybe some of the others have come up with policies. My question is, do we have a policy? And then I heard maybe you mentioned one. I'm in hopes that we can have a policy that's written out that everyone in our little city will know. And also a telephone number that we can call. We really needed a number to call because this is what I registered, the 3rd to the 7th, where we heard fireworks in our neighborhood. Different than what we've ever heard before. Very loud, very disturbing. And these ladies will tell you some of those that have been wounded by that. PTSD people, animals, people that really hurt for our community. And some of them are brand new here. Okay, and some of them were till 4 in the morning. Maybe you didn't know that. Let's see.
Connie, while you're in them, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you would like a number to call for, what do you want to call? I mean, the police department, what are we trying to call for?
Thank you for asking me the
You bet.
question. Obviously, I'm not doing a very good job here. Okay, from the 3rd to the 7th, when the fireworks were so loud and so noisy, we wanted somebody to call us, say, hey, can you come and check on these people? Because it's frightening. Thank you. Keep me in check, Rob. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and let our people come up. Don't forget to say your name, girls.
Okay.
That's a new one. There's a lot of it. Never that.
My name is Dion Miller, and I'm a veteran and Gold Star mother of Marine Lance Corporal Aaron C. Austin that was killed in Fallujah in 2004. At that time, well, we already had Aaron's dog, and we became mom and dad to that dog. That's been 20 years and a few months ago. And since that time, we've had families of dogs. Not that they were born together, but we would bring in 2, 3, 4 at a time. I think our world has evolved enough to understand how important dogs are for comfort. For I know the Marine brothers that Aaron left me with, I'm in Facebook contact and reunions and all that. I don't know that we have that many combat veterans here. I think Kathy was gonna address one that she talked to the other night. Even though I'm a combat veteran, I did not go through the kind of wars that these guys have been through. So the fireworks don't bother me, but they do upset my dogs. And my dogs are my comfort. And I have lived here this time 31 years. I live on the 900 block of West Avenue K. So I also get the cannon and the fireworks from the football games. But I'm ixnaying that out because I know exactly when that's gonna be. I know how to take care of it. And it's also cooler that I can walk them later. We do walk our dogs. They're not just puppy mouths. So, we have our largest puppy. She's 2 years old. She's 75 pounds. We have not been able to get her out on a walk for over a week. Now, she was brought in as a companion to a deaf dog that we have, that the fireworks don't bother him, the aerials do. And then a little older one that's 8, that he's an old man and he kind of just lives through it. But I have lived here taking care of these dogs this 20 years where I just lived through it. I bite the bullet and lived through it. I just found out a couple of years ago you can actually get a dog medicated. So I called Dr. Newman in Hobbs. I got Buttercup, the one that will not walk right now. I got her medication, but it's not gonna knock her out. I don't even wanna do that. I don't want a bunch of drug addicted dogs, but it gets her where she won't sleep with us right now because she can hear the fireworks from our bedroom so heavy. So she will go cuddle up in the hallway. So the little deaf one, who is just 2 years old too, he's not having his mate right now. So well, it was said in the invocation, we're made up of many families. I'm not wanting at all to destroy anyone else's 4th of July. But I do want to be considered, even though as we all feel like, okay, well, people probably just think we're old and crazy. Well, we are old and crazy, but we're still families of an aging group of people that have given to the community and to our country. And so we just want to be considered. If we can find out those exact dates and who I have called afterward, that had been my question this year. Where's the cutoff? When can we? I don't bother the police till after the cutoff. I managed to find some way to live through it. I would absolutely love if we could get them out of the residential area, but I realize that's probably a big ask. I appreciate what Chaparral Park has done. John has been so good through all the years, and I did look at the pictures to see what all had been fixed out there. I don't get to go because I'm at home with the dogs. But if we can just be considered in this as part of the community, that yes, there are kids and there are adults who want to fire fireworks. I wouldn't mind being out in it, but these dogs are my family. So, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Martha Rodriguez. I have resided in Lovington for 71 years. And the problem I had with the fireworks was they were like cannons this year and they went on until after 1. And I too have neighbors that have health issues. There's a lot of older. I have a dog that's a rescue. She was abused and she was terrified to the point of throwing up. And I don't mind fireworks, but I think there has to be a limit to what people do with them and the respect for their neighbors. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'm Kathy Smith, and I have a problem with the fireworks and everything that they said as far as animals, as far as veterans, and just citizens that aren't firework people, that are just trying to get up and go to work every morning. And you've been up all night listening to that. There just doesn't seem to be any regulations that go, okay, at 10 o'clock, it's over. You know, so all you working folks can get some rest. But instead, it was like to 2 o'clock in the morning in my neighborhood, almost that whole entire, except for the 4th of July, which I don't think it ever even stopped. But I had shared with Connie that I visited this morning with a woman that just moved, they just moved to Lovington and started a new business here. And she said they were mortified because they'd never lived through anything like that. They felt like they were in a combat zone. And they said it wouldn't stop. They just were like, we never experienced anything like this in our life. Nobody has any respect for their neighbors. They don't care. And they're just out there, just going day and night. And she said that, I'm surprised she didn't just pack up and leave. I wouldn't have been surprised because I wouldn't have. But she said next year we'll be gone through the 4th of July because we won't live another 4th of July in Lovington. And that's probably one of the smartest things you could do is just get out of it. I think we need some kind of hold on it because it's out of control. And it's, I mean, so many of us just feel like we've been hung out to dry. Because it's like, well, you know, we've got all this great fireworks. It's not a patriotic thing anymore. It's a nightmare thing. Anyway, thanks for listening.
It's not really a nightmare, it's more of a competition. I mean,
I heard that.
I'm just saying, I mean, I live over in the Avenue H area, and I mean, there's like 3 different areas, and every year they seem to compete. Just see who shoots fireworks the longest and different things like that, so.
And I took pictures of all of their trash.
It was a large.
No telling how many thousands of dollars. Elaine Beagle from Lovington. Well, we have a neighbor that they moved in a couple of years ago, and they start their fireworks about 2 weeks before the 4th.
Well, I know one of your neighbors, I would think that you could be able to talk to him and see if he could get a little.
Well, yeah, but I try
Sorry, Joe.
to be very respectful of my chief of police.
No, right?
Is he the one doing it?
Yeah, is he right? Is he the one doing it?
Are you gonna tell on him?
But anyway, like I said, it has gotten to the point where it's not enjoyable. I mean, you know, it's loud, it's scary. And, like I said, I have animals and mine go every which way and hide, but like I said, I think that we need, I don't think, if I'm correct, that you guys inspect the different places that sell the fireworks here. And I think these fireworks must be coming from someplace else. These loud boom scares you. And, but like I said, I think we need to more ordinances and, you know, keep some of these fireworks, to a normal fireworks. It used to be that the only fireworks we had was a little sparkles in our streets, and then you would go out to the lake and have the nice big fireworks. But now we have it all over. I mean, you can sit in your backyard and look toward Tatum, and it looks like they have their own fireworks going. But that's just something I think that we need to work on. Thank you.
I have one more comment that I need to speak, and I'm heard. A neighbor just north of me has a large family and a baby. And she said that baby, a tiny baby, well, no, I think that she's probably 2, but she said she cried the whole time. And I told her that I would speak of that while we were here. I'm Connie Crow. It's
okay. One element.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, Mr. Gordon, I know you're coming out. Is it gonna be on this issue?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a request, and maybe this will help everyone. Mr. Miranda, I concur with the group that's speaking tonight. That's the reason that I brought this up to the chief of police and also to the fire chief on some other issues. While I understand that people want the right to celebrate the 4th, we don't, for everybody's knowledge, we don't have to follow the state guidelines. We can adopt it, we can change it, we can whatever. And so I think maybe if we put a little bit of effort into that while it's fresh on our minds, and then maybe look at that in the next few weeks to change how we're going to do it, then possibly we can enforce a little differently, and stop some of this because, and I'm not here to bash or to cause Mrs. Price any hurt feelings up there. We are supportive of the effort of celebration, but you have no control over what they're doing with the products that you sell them. So we're somehow going to have to come with some controls to the time that they can celebrate. And so if, in addition, Ms. Crowe, Commissioner White, there is LCCA has a fireworks hotline that they adopted. She has that information if you want to catch her afterwards. She was showing it to me. And that will give you somebody to call to move this along a little bit quicker. Now, Mr. Boyson, anything that I haven't touched, you are certainly welcome to come and express what you would like to.
Hi, my name is Tim Boyson, and everybody knows where I live. I'm also a combat vet, 1968 Vietnam, and Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I've been dealing with these fireworks for all my life. I love them. I've known how to deal with them. I've got PTSD and along with other stuff. I know how to deal with them. What we do with our dogs and is put them in their room where they belong, where their own room. We put music on, and it doesn't bother them. And we start out our little kids, and I suggest everybody else does too. Start them out real young with the fireworks, let them know what's going on with it. That way, when they grow up, they won't be afraid of it. And it's really common sense because we've had fireworks in this country since 1776. And every community in this town, I mean, not just this town, and in the whole United States, does fireworks. And from where I've lived, this is very mild. And it only goes on for maximum of 7 days. I heard some last night, about 1 o'clock. All I do is I turn my TV up a little bit, and I don't hear it in the front room. When I go to bed, I sit there and turn my TV on, and I sleep like a baby, along with my medication. So I'm just gonna say, I love it as a combat vet and everything else, and a little suggestion for you ladies, that you might want to try to start doing that, if you haven't already. Because I have a war zone in my house, and I have the police chief's mother lives right behind me, and there's been no complaints out of her or her husband or any other veterans in my neighborhood. So with that, I want to do the opposite of what they're doing. Keep up the good work of the fireworks and celebrating our country's birthday. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager, maybe you send something out in the water bill next year just to educate the public on when and the timeframe of celebrating.
Will you be voting on that?
Yeah, no, most likely that'll be something we just make recommendations for.
Guess I'm not supposed to talk about it.
I'm just making a recommendation for next year, just.
Thank you.
We will address you when we.
I know, I'm sorry, all the January 1st.
Who?
New Year's Eve. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, we lost, is there anyone else that has anything in public comment this time? Seeing no one step forward, then we will move on. Brings to our non-action items. Mr. Miranda, I believe you are up.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, for anyone who's not, I sent this out and it's going to be on the overhead display, but we polled the department heads about their wants, needs, and asks for this year's capital outlay, ICIP. We've come up with the top 5 to be ranked by the commission. We took into account relevance, what the departments have gotten previously, and how well the departments use what they had gotten in past asks. So, and this is just ranked, Ms. Gassman helped a lot in this project. As you know, she's very involved in capital outlay. We ranked number 1 for water and wastewater departments, the jetter and the hydrovac truck and trailer. Water and wastewater have responded to hundreds of leaks and water main breaks in the past couple of months. These 2 items, well, these 3 items are desperately needed by those departments. You need a separate one for water and for wastewater. They're extremely expensive. It's $837,000. Second is the street sweeper for the street department. We have a 2008 street sweeper, which is currently broken. Streets department did receive $670,000 last year. They had a lot more other requests, but this was the most critical. And we felt like since they got the biggest grant last year, we put them number 2. Number 3 is actually a request that would cover 2 departments. The bucket truck not only would help us service the new Main Street lights, which the state will not service for us, but it's primarily for the Parks and Recreation Department to take care of the trees. But it could also be used by the street department, so that's for 2 departments. Number 4 is youth center infrastructure, additional repairs and projects, which I can share with you individually. We feel that a lot of good work has been done, but the Maddox grant is not going to cover everything that's needed there if we're going to really make it work. And then obviously, number 5 is a continuation of the phase project for the historic downtown. You'll see 6 through 10 are grants that have already been authorized and we're awaiting money on from last fiscal year.
I need signatures from the mayor on those.
Right, we have, yeah. So we can release the funds. And then from 11 onwards to page 2, our previous projects that haven't been funded, and the commission can feel free to rank these any way they feel appropriate. We've pared down a lot. I think the ICIP list used to be 4 or 5 pages. We've just eliminated a lot of stuff that's irrelevant or obsolete. And that's pretty much it. So nothing really extravagant, but this equipment costs a lot of money.
Did you ask Dora about combining those?
I have not yet, no.
Because Hubert said don't combine.
Okay.
On number 1, we combined 3.
Right.
Yeah, into number 1.
I know.
Hubert told me not to do that, and nor go over 500.
Okay. Last year, the streets department got the motor grader and I think a front loader or a backhoe. Backhoes.
They've got a tractor, a 2024 John Deere tractor that's coming. It's been built, it's coming this month.
And I don't know if we did that in one ask or if we broke that
That was
up.
2, because the first year I did it, they did a tractor. And then
No, there were several of them that actually, they asked me, we actually put it all together.
But I think when it's conservative years, when we know that the state is lacking funding, I think that's when you need to gear back to 500,000. But like now that the state has, they've got plenty of taxpayer dollars, so I figured this idea most likely will get passed. It's the years that they don't is when you have to play with it.
And if you look at the total ask, which is the number I looked at, if you exclude the historic downtown project, which is kind of differently in its phase, 2 years ago, we got a little shy of 2 million in overall funding. Last year was 1.75. So this year is a little lower than that. So if you look at the total ask that we're asking the legislators to fund, it's a little on the conservative side. I know that utilities and water and wastewater is a big ask, but everything else is pretty conservative. I'd be willing to cut back on the youth center ask if you felt it would help, because water and wastewater, honestly, that's what we desperately need.
Last year when we actually, looking at our list, I'm so sorry to cut you off. Last year, we did combine several of our asks, and they actually did approve them. Like our sewer lift station and our deep dump, those were combined, and they did approve that. The library roof repair and plumbing, they approved that, and actually they reworded it to say to include, roof repair, carpeting, painting, and everything like that. They reworded it so that it would be kind of open-ended on our paperwork. So it was kind of interesting how they came back and reworded some of the stuff that I put in there.
And thank you to Commissioner Bolt who helped us price out the bucket truck in terms of how much that would cost us. And like I said, that would be primarily for parks, but when the Main Street project is done, the lighting is our responsibility. But we'd entertain any other thoughts, suggestions, priorities. But this is the feedback from our department heads.
Just split the hydrovac trailer and the jetter, split that up, and fill the youth center to the freaking street. I mean, bump them out of the top 5.
What kind of trailer?
The trailer,
Is it the valve trailer?
Christie, the trailer was only $37,000.
Just regular trailer?
Yes, I believe it was.
There was
well,
one that's
hold on a
valve
second, I'll tell you.
The trailer was very small.
Just regular trailer.
The trailer is usually used for smaller jobs and the water department
Right,
needs
it's a
it.
smaller hydrovac.
Yeah, it's a jetter.
Yeah.
Just that
That's all it is,
full
just a,
Yeah.
500 gallon.
Yes, it's 51,500. So the jetter truck was 225,000, and then the hydrovac truck is 560,000.
Why don't you just take the street sweeper and bucket truck and combine them two and break the jetter and the hydrovac up so it's less than 500,000, if at all possible. Because bucket truck and street sweeper are equipment, so you put them together, it's what, 400? 435, that'd be the best way to do it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, sir?
Bucket truck. So what's number 5? Because we have historic downtown project. Is that number 5 or is the?
That is number 5, yes.
Okay.
And then
Do we have one?
Because it doesn't have a, is it the 413? What amount are you asking for?
Okay, and then put the hydrovac
1.4
truck and trailer together.
is what they're asking.
There's
I mean, the whole thing, 3.56.
We'll do the 500,000 one separately by itself.
Okay.
All right, and then the trailer and the smaller one.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, it's still, we would still cater to the top 5, just like Commissioner
I just want.
Bolt did it, just
And
straight,
you're asking
straight
you're
down
asking
like
the
that.
1.391 for the historic downtown?
Just the last one, 1.3
91?
It's still gonna
for
add.
the historic downtown.
On historic downtown. What are you asking?
Yeah, we're asking.
Description.
Yes, we're asking for the 1.3 on the historical downtown. We're still, yeah, because that's what we've already told them we needed for 2026. So we're expecting that. And I've spoken to Ms. Ball, and he said that that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my understanding that our end of the Main Street project was up to about 900,000. Is that correct?
No, we went through the numbers and it's down to the 13,991 is my last cost that I was given from
the state.
I was wondering where we.
So we're broke.
And what they're reporting, so.
That's what I'm. I always get weirded out on these ones. Because these are standing like 2 inches.
Yeah.
And other ones are
Crystal, so on this funding right there, historical downtown project, that,
That's the
is
Main
that the
Street
balance
water
that we
line.
still owe, right? Is that?
That is the amount we still owe.
Okay, so we're trying to get whatever, but if we get this, then we won't owe the.
This, and then we put in a little bit more for any additional work. That's why the next few years after that, we ask for a little bit more. Because again, like we are adding that drain line, for the central stuff, and we don't know what we'll run into on through the end of the project that we may need more.
Okay.
So, those other years are not, it's not something set in stone that that's what we're gonna ask for each year, but it's just a projection for the state to understand that we may have to ask for more.
Okay, thank you.
So if I understand the commission correctly, we want to make the $500,000 hydrovac rank number 1. Number 2 would be the jetter and the trailer. Number 3 would be street sweeper and bucket truck for the streets department and parks. Number 4, you want to keep the youth center. And number 5, historic downtown. We want to cut back on the youth center.
That's me,
I'm sorry, fine.
Ugly guy. Man, it's gonna be hard to swing through the fences.
like 385.
This is number 2.
Anything's better than what we've had.
No, I understand.
Well, and if you say 5, they'll usually give you like 385.
As a board.
385. That's, we get a lot
I would,
done.
I would just ask for it. I mean, you're gonna ask for it if they deny it, or if they give you part of it. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
not
whole
a all
point.
or
Right?
nothing
It's
deal.
the whole point is asking. If it was a conservative,
What
Yeah.
we're thinking
Yeah.
of is a splashback.
we're talking like if it's a conservative year, it's not a
Ledger
conservative
finance
year.
money up at 2.5 and they're doing 90.
Been persuaded to 500 for the use of, been strong armed into thinking that.
Gotta take care of the kids.
So just
For
for
the
our vote,
children.
Christie,
Okay,
the hydrovac is the 500 and
Feel good.
okay, is that number 2 or number 1?
Give them
Number
some
1.
new, you
How
know.
much is
Jetter's
that?
number 1.
That's the,
500.
560,000, that's number 1?
Yep.
Okay,
Number 2 is the jetter and the trailer.
okay.
Number 3, combine the street sweeper and the bucket truck.
Mhm.
Number 4 is the youth center. Number 5 is the historic downtown project.
Now, that doesn't remove any of the other items on the ICIP list that have been there before. This just prioritizes your top 5.
The rest of them have to remain on there, because
Yes.
some of them have to do with her projects and CDBG and.
The theater.
A lot of times, if you don't have something on an ICIP list, you cannot even apply for a grant. It's not something the city has placed on this list.
They have
It is
to-
a tool we use in grant writing and other things.
Yeah, like Leslie's projects have to remain on here, they have to show up somewhere on our list for her to get funding for her project too.
And of course, I think we've demonstrated that if we do get the funding, it will all be put to work in a timely manner. Chris has done a great job on that.
Questions? All right, hearing none. All right. That goes on to our public hearing. Ms. Gaston, are you? I know Shannon
No, I'm
is.
good.
Okay.
Okay, this opens up our public hearing portion of the meeting to approve for dock ordinance 606, which is $100,000 of LEADA funds to approve the project participation agreement for infrastructure for the affordable housing project. Does anyone have any comments?
I do. So in this request from EDC, the ordinance states that this would be infrastructure and it has utility in parentheses behind that. So does that mean that it can only be used for water and sewer infrastructure, not street, curb, sidewalk, none of that type of infrastructure? That was my question on the way this reads.
So how should it read if they want to involve?
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know, because I haven't been involved in the board that is doing the spending of the county money. And so if the county side of the money that EDC is getting will include those other things, I can see why this would just say utility. That was my question.
I'll take it for you.
Thank you.
So what was your direct question?
So this one, the money that the cities, the LEDA funds that the city's pushing over to you guys for this housing infrastructure, right?
Uh-huh.
It does say it says parentheses, utility right behind infrastructure, so that means it's only for utility,
infrastructure.
not road, not curb, not sidewalk.
Utility infrastructure.
Yes,
So,
so,
like I mentioned earlier, the 500,000
Mhm.
is for, utilities for water, sewer, lift stations,
I
anything kind of,
understand that.
any upgrade in water lines or whatever.
So then,
That's what that's for.
on the county side of the money, will you guys be using that for reimbursement for the infrastructure of like curb, sidewalk, that type of infrastructure for these developers? Because I know developers coming to get the money from you for infrastructure improvements.
Krista, were you around the last project that we did?
No, I caught the tail end of that
Okay,
project.
so we did not participate with anyone on providing sidewalks. So you want to come in and do a subdivision, that developer is paying 100% of curb, gutter, road,
Okay.
whatever it takes. We're giving them an incentive by unit. And how they put that, how they incentivize it on their books is totally up to them. Okay, what I said earlier was, remember we have tiers.
Yes.
So we have a 10,000 down to 2,500 projected. None of this is in stone. As of our last meeting, we had 5 tiers. Okay, the money, so if you use round numbers and you said 10,000 for 500 homes is $5 million. Okay, we got 4.5 to give away. We project half of them were gonna be possibly townhomes, condos, and apartments that are gonna be in the proposed 5,000 level incentives. We're gonna have, those projects are the ones that are gonna require upgrades from you guys. One lot, a lot of inflow of water and a lot of outflow of sewer. That's where we would be able to recover some of the added cost to the city. But to the developer, they're paying 100% of curb, gutters, everything. We are only talking about upgrades pertaining to the city. For example, Love Street lift station wasn't on anybody's property, but it was affecting the hospital, the apartments, everything
north of it.
Yes. And so those are where we're gonna target that money.
Okay.
Does
So
that
this
answer
is
your
not,
question?
that's where, because it says it's for the period for the affordable housing project. So that's why I thought it was strictly for
It is.
that incentive.
It is for that project. So we can't go build homes and not have a sewer line to put sewer down. It may not affect, let's just say, take Dead Man's Curve, for example. You know, the developer we're working on is looking at 245 homes in that area. There's gonna have to be upgrades done. That's probably gonna take us all the way back to Avenue G. That's not on their site, not on their property, not at any one of their lots. That's gonna be added cost the city's gonna incur off-site way down the line.
Then I see what you meant by that's probably not.
And if I can quote the letter from the EDC to the Lee County Commission, it says the LEDC funds will focus on upgrading lift stations, tornado sirens, fire hydrants, centrifuges for our wastewater treatment plant, and making these upgrades will sustain the housing development going on in these areas.
And if you run out of this 500, will you revisit where you're at financially at that point and see if you can?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we took a third of the fund. We were conservative and took a third of the fund and projected 5 years from now, we would replenish with today's money. That's not included what added GRTs is gonna come in with the construction. So somebody did some fancy math. I can't remember, it was a long conversation, but I think it was like 13 cents of every dollar is gonna come back to this program. So for the due diligence board, we're gonna keep track of every project. At the end of 5 years, we're gonna come to you and say, okay, this project brought in $20 million. And out of that $20 million, this portion was taxable. Out of this portion being taxable, this is what LEDA recouped. So again, we took a third of it. We were conservative and took a third. Be sure if there's $50,000, $100,000 project, we're gonna run short somewhere. The city doesn't have it. We gotta remember this. The taxpayers are putting in $500,000. Till this day, I haven't heard the city putting in any money. And that's the question that we're getting is, what is the city gonna help pay for? Out of their profits of running the city, out of their overruns, out of their non-allocated funds. Those are other options as well, like you guys did in the past. Not 100% of what was done in the past was paid by LEDA. It was actually a three-way split. It was the county, the city, and the LEDA.
I think that's why we established the LEDA to earmark taxpayers' money towards projects like such as this, and not come directly from our GRTs, because we cannot afford it. Yeah.
Nobody wants to, it's hard to budget. You guys had budgets up here, you had revenue streams up here. It's hard to budget money that you don't know that you're gonna make, right? But if you have a good year and you have overruns and you're gonna have extra cash on hand, then you're gonna be able to contribute by way of the EDC to be able to recoup your infrastructure, not any project for any developer for your infrastructure.
The thing about it too, Junior, is that we have to maintain it for the longevity of that housing right there. So that's what we contribute, because we're gonna be fixing the water lines, we're gonna be fixing the schools and the streets. And so that's where our role plays. So when people ask, you say, well, the longevity of this work, this is front money. Once the project complete, then the city has to maintain all the infrastructure from that point forward. That's where we're putting our tax dollars into, because it just doesn't a one-time effect like this project's gonna take on. We're there for the next 100 years plus. So we have to have money, and that's how we contribute.
The LEDA funds are city money.
What's that?
I said the LEDA funds are city money.
They're taxpayer money, yes, sir. You're
Yes.
correct. You're correct. Governed by the EDC.
I would just add that we currently are carrying over $8 million in debt for infrastructure that we have to address also.
Junior, I have one question, and I was gonna ask it earlier, but this is a better time. Is it the EDC's intent to have I guess it's a proposal before the city commission, before any money is asked to be allocated? In other words, you're gonna tell what it's gonna be for and everything else before any money is asked to be spent on a project?
So the way it was done in the past, so we're administrating the applicants. Okay. once that project's done, and once there's a certificate of occupancy, then that packet is turned over to the city manager. Then the city manager addresses the commission with being passed through ordinance or whatever to be paid back. Okay, so there will be a lot. So if there was 100 developers, then there was gonna be 100 requests. So again, you guys have control of, I shouldn't say that. You guys will pay the bill. We have control of accepting applicants, making sure they have an occupancy permit. Crystal's involved in that. Once this developer has a minimum of these 4 houses built and there's occupancy done, so which means it's either sold, rented, or whatever, then it's gonna be turned over to Miranda. Miranda then is gonna do the paperwork, send it to you. So this is a reimbursement. This is, no, we're not upfronting the cost on any of it. This is only reimbursement.
It's like a mail-in rebate when you buy new windows or something.
Yeah, you get a certificate of occupancy and you did exactly what you said you were gonna do. This is, you get reimbursed.
I didn't know if you were stretching or joining, I wasn't sure.
Karen, so, yeah, Kevin, so as a developer, I would like, I mean, if I was a developer, the way it's sounding, it's kind of iffy. You know, it's like, okay, wait a minute, are you going to approve those or not? So if I'm a developer and I've done everything I'm supposed to do, I want assurance from this commission that you are going to pay that incentive back. I mean, I would like to hear that, all 5 votes, that's what's going to, because if I'm a commissioner, if I'm a developer out here, I mean, some of you guys are sounding kind of iffy if you're going to pay that back. And,
I don't think nobody's sounding iffy up here.
oh, what?
We're gonna
Back here, it sounds real iffy to us. I mean, it's like, okay, how's, you know.
We always take the recommendation of EDC.
Yes.
We
that's
have,
what-
we
that's
have
exactly-
never,
that's
we have
exactly
never
what it's gonna
denied
be.
EDC. We've always take recommendations, so.
That's just what I would want to hear if I was a developer, that y'all are going to pay that
You know.
if they do it.
So if it gets turned into the city manager, he approves it, he gives it to you guys, it's approved here, it gets paid for.
The city is paying the developers out of the funds the county has already started paying.
Yes.
So that's why,
Okay.
Say that one more time?
Well, hold on one second, yeah.
the funds the county has already started paying us for this project.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
You
No,
got,
That's what we will
before
pay.
the first occupancy permit is done, you guys have probably already received 100% of the county, the money from the county.
Right.
A minimum 3/4 of it, because from what I was told, they basically in 2 months are paying for half of it. So.
1.8
1.8,
out of 4.5.
a third of it.
In 6 months.
No,
We
that'd
got
be,
900
that'd be
in
40%.
June, we'll get 900 this month, and then
Yeah,
it's
40.
next June or next July. So 1.8 out of 4.5 we'll have before August 1st.
Yeah,
That's a third.
and again, we're not, them developers are paying for 100% of it upfront.
Yeah.
And if they don't finish the homes, they don't get any of it.
But okay, we're in a, public hearing on just the 500,000 that the EDC is proposing. So, we're not, that part, the 4.5 is not in this discussion at all. So the reason I'm asking is, if you had a developer and he's gonna put in 25 homes somewhere in the city, and it is a recognized that a lift station, just using that as a hypothetical, is needed. Since you're giving it as city infrastructure funds, then the EDC would make a proposal to the city that 200,000, I'm just using that as a number for a lift station.
Mayor, I'll get kind of technical with you on that. We're not part of the utilities department, part of fresh water or sewer. We're gonna hear from Miranda, those 25 homes are gonna have HEC flushing their toilets. Okay, that's where the conversation's gonna start. Miranda will come to us and say, we have to upgrade this lift station, whether it's in the alley or half a mile away or 2 miles away. Then we start addressing those problems. And that's where we won't ever know, a developer won't ever know that it's gonna require upgrade on a lift station half a mile or 3/4 of a mile down the road or on the other side of town. Correct?
Well, he might, I mean, it depends on what the communication is, but I'm just saying, just judging from what the questions were coming, this is the 500,000 is not truly a per unit. It could be a per project, subdivision,
Absolutely.
apartment complex, or whatever, but you're not, I mean, the EDC, while you are spearheading this whole project, you're not going to promise one developer a apartment complex or whatever. You will do a full due diligence on it. Then you will bring that proposal. This lift station is you get a bid, is going to be approximately this, and it's going to service this many units at a breakdown of so much per unit or whatever. That's how the 500,000, you see that being,
That may have to be spread over town.
I'm sorry, say that.
How many lift stations are in town?
So you're just gonna come to us before you spend a dime of 500 and tell us what you're spending it on?
Yeah, we can't spend it.
Right.
That's what he's asking.
He has no what he's saying is he has no foresight until the project begins, and then if you run into an issue, then if it's a city
Greatest
issue,
need
the
first.
500,000.
That's why a lot of the proposed sites were infill sites. So the road's already there, sewer's already there, water's already there. There's 2 houses here and 3 empty lots and 2 houses at the end of the block. Those are sites that we proposed, right? Those are sites that we've been given to developers looking to come in to build here. That's gonna be minimal cost to everybody because everything's in the alley. And so what we're talking about is, okay, well, what strain is that gonna add to that strain of that leg, whether sewer or water or water tower?
And for that reason, I think it was very wise that they put our utilities director on the advisory board, because he'll have firsthand knowledge of what's gonna happen and how it's gonna impact our existing services. I mean, if anybody knows in this city, it's that guy.
Yes.
So I guess I said a super simple way of looking at this to make it work for me, because whatever reason. So basically I understood that our utility director would be looking at our stuff, and as new things came in, new problems would arise. This money would be used to concentrate and secure those problems before they got out of control, whether it was upgrading a pump or repairing a line downstream. Very simple. It's just for the city. It's not for a project. It's not for anything else. It's for the city of Lovington to make repairs, to upgrade whatever it is that needs repaired in our sewer, water, valves, whatever it is, to make the transition for our new housing coming into Lovington.
As the chair of the due diligence board, we are gonna be relying on him.
Right.
I don't know the city infrastructure, nor
do you care.
Nor do I care. It's gonna be between him, I take it was explained to him, then he will go to, I assume, city manager and say, we're doing 6 houses on this block. This lift station is a little iffy. We need to probably upgrade it, upgrade the pump, upgrade the system, whatever it is.
And perfect example of that is last year's capital outlay, in which we were funded $500,000 for the North Love Street lift station. And that was in anticipation of the Albertsons and the 60 new apartments and all that, trying to be a little ahead of the curve, and that's exactly what we did. Instead of using capital outlay, we'd be using these funds. Same process though.
And again, it's not gonna be enough.
No, it's not.
I don't anticipate it being enough. But if we go 2.5 years from now, we got half a million, we've recouped 250,000 of the 500 we gave, well then, maybe we can stack it. Maybe you guys have a great year and there's money left over that you guys want to use for it. What, maybe the county comes back and says, here's more money. We don't know. We're just going on with the plan of what we know today.
Perfect.
Is there anyone else that would like to come up and have a question in this hearing? Commissioners, any questions before we conclude the hearing? Hearing none. Shannon?
This concludes the hearing.
All right.
It's good.
Mr. Gaines?
Yeah, give me a minute.
Okay,
It's a church one.
There we go.
there we go.
Back the way it ought to be. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for adoption of ordinance 606, approval of a PPA with the Lovington EDC for $500,000, funding for affordable housing project infrastructure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the adoption of this. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Gasser?
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2024-069, approval of submission to EPA Community Grant Program.
Second.
Motion and second. Consideration of this. Ms. Ball?
It's actually not me.
It's not your phone.
That's coming up for this one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you get up. I am so sorry.
So, to get the New Mexico match fund, they want to ensure that we actually are going to be applying for the EPA grant fund. So this is a hoop that we're jumping through to make sure that we get both our grants.
Okay.
Any questions?
I'm assuming that we are doing this.
Yes.
Okay. Small, okay. Any other questions, comments? Ms. Gasser?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt?
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2024-070, adopt ICIP fiscal year 2026 through 2030.
Second.
Is that as amended during the discussion?
I have no idea.
I can reiterate what I believe you decided, if that helps.
Oh, as long as we got it and.
Well, just so Christine, I have it clear, so as I understand it, the commission ranked this, number one, hydrovac truck for $560,000. Number two, jetter and trailer for $277,000. Number three is the street sweeper and bucket truck for $435,000. Number four, youth center infrastructure for $500,000. And number five, historic downtown project for $1.391 million. In that order.
Any further questions? Hearing none. Ms. Gasser?
Mayor Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt?
Yes.
Let's make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, 1 second. Minute to discuss, look over. Very small number.
You'll see $28,000 for the fence is a Maddox grant for the youth center on page 2 and $34,000 for IT on page 4 is also youth center Maddox grant. And if I can bring the commission's attention to page 7, M&W Water Well Service for $12,000. I believe that is, we're seeing if Lee County Electric can, I believe they're going to apply to their insurance company because it was caused by a fire on the utility pole which burned out our motor. That never happened. We're going to try.
David, I got a question, under 12544 SWAT, LLC, page 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that chamber and chamber.
What page is that, sir?
Page 8.
I know that they had, we upgraded IT to the building in general. I don't know, this was just on the chamber side, because bear in mind, we also have code enforcement and the city court in that building, so I don't know this particular job. But we've upgraded IT and internet to the theater, to the chamber, as, you know, anything city buildings, so. But I can find out.
Okay.
I didn't even think we were using SWAT.
Actually, Kevin,
It depends. So for here at City Hall, we use IT Works. However, each department outside of City Hall is free to use SWAT if they need. For example, municipal courts, I would suggest that they still use SWAT because they have a lot of knowledge of software that is pretty old, that they set up, that they know how to do. And that's probably why the magistrate court is still using SWAT.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
and actually, if I have any IT bills, I usually bring them up and just verify that it works for them. Or if he knows of one of these drills before. Since he has kind of a handle on the IT side that I do. Get your.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Guest?
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. With that, the items of the agenda are exhausted. We are adjourned. Sorry? Call in, bud. I've got some things. I'm not leaving. I just said I gotta sign some things.